Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Wrestling Inc. WWE Raw After Show. My name is Jack Farmer, but I'm not here alone. I am here with the boss man himself, the guy with more scoops than 31 flavors. I'm here with Raj. How you doing, Raj?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm also here for the first time. I get to chat with the woman who, look, there is Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. Then there's Io Shirai. Then there's the Four Horsewoman. Then there's a blank spot for emphasis. And then there is the Demon Diva herself, Issa. Issa, how are you?
I'm doing well, Jack. Thank you for that intro.
Yeah, of course. We have quite the show to talk about. I feel like I am going to get a lot of hate mail after this episode. But before we get into all the fun stuff, all the stuff that happened on the show, of course, in the past week, there was lots of big news. Lots of stuff happened. And I'm sure lots of people in the chat want to know. Let's dive right into it. First and foremost, unfortunately, this time of year, it seems to be a time of year the WWE likes to release some talent, and that was no exception this year. 10 names were listed as being let go. Raj, let's start with you. Just any initial thoughts or feelings about the 10 that were let go, or anything you kind of want to add to it?
Well, I mean, I hate to say this, but for the most part, most of the people released were not really being used outside of Samoa Joe, who was the lead commentator on Raw. But you had Peyton Royce, who is awesome, and her and Billie Kay, the Iconics, they split them up for no good reason at all. There was no reason to split them up. They were a hot act. They did awesome. Why split them up? It was like when they split up Alberto Del Rio and Ricardo Rodriguez, or when they split up. I mean, Lana and Rusev. I mean, there's just so many acts you can go back where it was just working and they split it up for no reason. And that was one of those.
Yeah, with the Iconics, for me, it definitely feels like they kind of outsmarted themselves. They had this thing that everyone loved, and they thought that they could be more clever than they needed to be, and broke them up, and it clearly didn't work. Issa, what are your thoughts on some of the names that are now no longer part of the WWE?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think the Iconics were a package deal. I never understood why break them up. Even if you wanted to give one of them a push as a single stars, you could. You did it with Kofi while he was still in the New Days. You've done it so many times without having to break up a tag team. I feel like they lost all the momentum as soon as they broke them up. I thought Billie Kay was doing a good job trying to do her own thing on SmackDown, but apparently, she had a match at WrestleMania and she was released 2 days after. Just like the Good Brothers last year. Imagine that.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not the first time that they do this, but I think that the last few years is not a weird thing because now there's other places they can go to. A few years back, it was like, ooh, this doesn't look good. Now, it's almost hopeful for some of your favorites to get released.
I want to ask you both this. When was the last time they split someone up that it helped them out? Someone out. Roman Reigns, maybe, with the Shield. That's how far back we're going. I can't think of anything.
Yeah, and Roman Reigns, to be fair, he struggled for a bit. I mean, he was used very well, but he wasn't embraced until recently in a lot of ways. That's a great question. Because we always talk about how there's a Marty Jannetty and a HBK to every team, but you're right. So many people got split up. For a while, Otis seemed to be doing pretty well on his own, but then...
No, he never did.
You didn't believe in him and Mandy Rose? I was cheering for him.
They had a little something.
Listen, I'm all up for him getting some, but not winning titles. That's a whole different...
Right. He wasn't a star. He wasn't a star.
Yeah, I think we all were a little bit like, I'm happy for him getting Money in the Bank, but I don't know about this.
Right. He's not winning the world title. If he does, I'm done with wrestling.
Looking at it, and I try to be optimistic as always, I think that, and everyone says not everyone can go to AEW. I don't want to be that guy that says everyone should go to AEW, but...
Look at Miro in AEW. He's worse than he was in WWE. I mean...
I look at the one of the big things that people complain about with AEW is their women's division. And I look at, you've got Peyton Royce, Billie Kay, and Chelsea Green all hitting the free market right now, along with, I guess Zelina Vega still out there. I mean, you've got like a ready-made women's division right there if they're able to spend the money.
You want a spoiler on Zelina Vega?
Yeah, of course.
She'll end up back in WWE.
I kind of figured, but
Right.
I kind of feel like a few of these people will end up back, and I feel like Samoa Joe will probably find his way.
Aleister Black, he's on his way back. I mean, he's been there, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot of people land on their feet. It's always tough, though. It's easy for us on a distance, like, oh, they'll land on their feet, they'll be fine. But if you've ever lost a job before, it sucks. It's tough. And so hopefully they all do well. Hopefully they all find something. It was very surprising list of people. I will say my last thing on it was I was not a huge fan of them having Billie Kay basically say she can't find work and she's unemployable for months before letting her go. I thought that was kind of I'm sure that wasn't part of the plan, but I felt like that was kind of a bad look on their part.
I just think in general, when you're treating these guys like this is the only thing they can get, like, and they need this job or they're screwed. And growing up, I would always think of Hogan and Macho Man and all these guys as like larger than life celebrities. Like, they just make billions of dollars, and you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, untouchable. Like, they are just on another stratosphere. And to treat them like, I don't know, I think it takes some of the mystique out of it. When you're like, hey, they need this job, or they're going to be working at a grocery store. I don't know. It just takes the mystique out of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it does a bit. But going to the idea of there's other opportunities out there, Issa, something you had mentioned, I want to transition into the ratings this past week. There was big rating news, especially over on the AEW side. It was their first Wednesday completely unopposed since the Wednesday Night War started, and I guess now we're saying it ended. They came up with a big number. Raj, you're the facts and the stats and everything, but I believe it was a 1.2 million. Is that correct?
1.2 million, the biggest they've done since their debut. It was, gigantic. Way beyond. I thought they were going to do like 900,000. Because they've been cold. If you look at the ratings before that, they've been cold.
Yeah, they were trending downwards for a couple of weeks there in a row.
Exactly. They were doing their record lows, and then, whatever it was a combination of Tyson and NXT not being on and the Jericho interview, whatever it was. We'll have to give it a few weeks, but man, it was, if they were to continue this, and Raw usually has their drop. So they usually have their post-Mania big numbers, and then they drop, through the summer.
Yeah.
If that were to happen, and I don't think that's what's going to happen, but if it does, Raw will drop, but I don't see AEW continuing with that number. But if they did, it would be it's a different war.
Yeah, it definitely gets bigger. Issa, do you follow the ratings? Are you a ratings person?
I'm not a ratings person, but I see it on my timeline. I can't escape it. I just think that all the ratings for every show last week is almost like setting the bar for this new season or era, and we'll see how consistent it is moving forward for the next few weeks. Super excited for AEW. I think that's a huge number and good for them. We want all wrestling to do well, right? But
right.
Can they keep it? That's the question, and we'll see where it goes. I personally thought the show of the week last week was NXT.
Yeah, I agree with you, Raj. I thought it was going to be that. I thought it was going to be like 900. I've always thought that it was the same people just switching back and forth. And for whatever reason, the ratings showed nice for AEW, but it was really the same people. Clearly, it wasn't, because clearly they got a bump. But yeah, I don't know what it was.
It was a big bump in over 50, but still, they did their biggest rating in 1849 that they've done. So it was across the board. It was just an impressive number.
Now, something you alluded to before we got on air is, of course, and you mentioned a little bit just now, Jericho was on the Stone Cold podcast the week before, right after Mania. It seems like one of the hottest times you could be on a WWE product show, and basically talked about AEW. Do you think that maybe he got some people to say, you know what, I'll check this show out?
The bump that they got, it's almost illogical. Because they've been unopposed in the past, and they have been colder in the last few weeks, and to be that far ahead is 75% from last week. That's insane. So who knows? Is it Tyson? Is it just this is where they were without NXT? Is it? I mean, who knows? But man, it was. I mean, it'll take a few weeks to kind of see, where they really are. But,
right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, but before we get into the show itself today, we do have a couple of chats I want to shout out. Krana Shaw mentioned no AJ again tonight. Cheers to all three of you. Hashtag 420. So cheers to you, Krana. We also got Alejandro Villarreal. Watching Raw, I feel your pain. Thanks for everything you do for us, the wrestling fans, on giving a good summary about the show. Hey, you're welcome. And then that's Krana
There was
Shaw.
the Krana one. Thank you, Krana. Krana is a good friend of the show. We love you. Thank you, man.
Yep.
And Jax Collins, always a good friend of the show.
Jax Collins, not your first rodeo. You've been here before, Jax.
He's always here.
This new commentator, I can't get into it yet. I know he's new, but what a move over and over. He needs to watch some tapes and learn the moves.
Adnan Burke.
Adnan, you know what's interesting about him, and I did want to bring him up. I'm kind of torn on him because I get everything Jax is saying, and I agree completely. But something about his voice feels so professional and feels so ESPN. It does give it a little bit of credibility. Issa, do you like Adnan?
He feels very baseball, and I'm a big baseball fan. I feel like I'm watching a baseball game when I listen to him. And baseball is very different sport to call because it's not action filled, so you can't go with the laid back, chill attitude. Where in wrestling, there's so much going on. I need his excitement, and it's rough for him now comparing him to Pat, who I thought did an awesome job on Friday at SmackDown. I think that's a big difference when you're talking about the new announced teams.
Yeah, for sure. And Raj, did you change your mind on Adnan at all?
I mean, wrestling commentary is very different than sports commentary, right? And for me growing up, it was Jesse the Body Ventura, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Jerry the King Lawler in the 90s, not now. Mm-hmm. But it was that entertainment that it's not a sport. Wrestling is not a sport. And I know some people love Gordon Soley and that era of commentating, but for me, it was always Vince and Jesse, or Bobby and Gorilla. Those were the teams that made it. It was entertaining. It's making it fun, and that fun commentary has been gone for a long time, and I don't see Adnan Burke adding to it. He sounds like he has that, yeah. Like that Simpsons commentator voice, but
he does sound like Simpsons commentator.
Like, well, that is, but anyway, I don't know, man. I miss that entertaining commentary, and that's what I want. And people, if they say it's passe, it's like bullshit. Jericho, when he was doing Dynamite commentary, that still blew everything out of the water. Like, yes. It was awesome. Like, it made it worthwhile. The people that say it's passe never liked it to begin with, but that is what made wrestling popular. That is wrestling. Mm-hmm. Wrestling is good guys and bad guys and fun. And the sports voice,
a lot of the moments you remember them by the call as well. There's so many iconic moments that the first thing you remember is what was said at that moment. And right. I don't know that I don't put him there with bringing that excitement if something big happens. He just doesn't do that for me yet. But he's new. He's probably not used to having these people screaming in his ear. What can you say? What can you say? All of that. So we'll see. I'm not ready to fully count him out, but he feels very baseball to me.
Yeah,
I will say this: he's not going to be there in a year from now. I hate to say it, but it's true. They do this, but it's true. I'll bet you $1,000 he's not going to be there.
I'm not betting. Maybe Jack will bet you, but I'm not betting.
No.
If they did this Mike Adamle, whenever they bring a complete outsider, it's so random. They don't give them the practice. They don't put them on main event or whatever. It's like just throw them into the Sharks, and It's like, well, shit, if they suck, that's not on them, that's on you. And
Yeah,
and he doesn't suck, but he's not good.
If you can't count on Todd Phillips and Samoa Joe to stay around longer than a year, then I'm not going to bet on Adnan at this point. No
Todd Phillips was out. I thought Todd Phillips had gotten really good.
Yeah.
The problem I had with Todd Phillips and Samoa Joe and Byron Saxton, they kind of sounded alike.
Yeah.
Like it was like who was saying what? I
Especially Byron and Todd. They definitely sounded the same.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Just to circle back, Bobby the Brain, my favorite all-time commentator.
Oh, man.
Just funny, played his character right. It was just chef's kiss. Perfect. My favorite.
Ventura, like Jesse the Body. There was no doubt who was talking when he was talking.
Right? Yeah.
You know.
So we also have a few more of these super chats. We got Jody Shauna Jenkins saying, love what they did with Mace and T-Bar tonight. Simple. And we'll get to that later. Chris Pantaleo, after last week's AEW rating, WWE could try rehire. They're rehiring some of the folks that they let go. Then we also have Bear Hudson, breaking news. Charlotte Flair is being suspended indefinitely and will be off TV for a certain amount of time. Will Elise work for WWE or NXT? I don't know.
We have an interview with Elise coming tomorrow.
So there's a question to ask. Where's she working? Where's her next stop going to be? I'm a fan of Elise. I liked her back in Lucha Underground, so I am a supporter of her personally.
She has the look, she has the personality, she has every tool. She needs to get her attitude under control. And she's a superstar. Mm-hmm. If she does.
And then I think Stellar Justin Lopez said he's too laid back. He's got to bring the fire, talking about Adnan, I believe. And we have John Cena's bald spot. Raw sucked in the other news. Water is wet. Let's talk about that Stone Cold doc on A&E. Also, I almost said an AEW on A&E. Also, has anyone checked out Glenn Friday's Wrestling Inc. episode? It was like the start to a Scream movie.
Oh my God, that sounds frightening.
I try to warn him. He has issues. He's in his empty house. Somebody knocks on the door and he goes, "Oh, let me go get it." I'm like, Glenn, nobody knows that you live there. Like, this is how a scary movie starts. What are you doing?
Do you like scary movies?
I do.
I love Scream. Scream is one of my favorite horror movies of all time.
I rewatched Scream recently, and it is such a slice of like late 90s.
Dude, they're making another one.
Are they really?
Yeah, they're bringing another one. They're currently making it.
I thought every Scream after the first sucked.
I thought they kept that going well. I could watch some of the last one, not so much, but the second and the third one I liked.
Yeah. We just watched Lethal Weapon 2 last night. And
we went back.
We went back, and man, I forget how much I love that movie. And that girlfriend, to this day, even after last night, that's Mandy Rose. When I'm picturing her, I'm picturing Mandy Rose. The girlfriend in Lethal Weapon 2.
Now I'm going to have to go back and watch Lethal Weapon 2. I love watching those old ones. Like I said, they're just slices of certain times. So good. Nathaniel Cook says, the commentary from JR during the Attitude Era made the era the best in wrestling. Commentators were stars back in the day. Thank you guys again. Thank you, Nathaniel. Stone Cold. I mean, he wasn't. That was an actual commentary. He wasn't
Jim Ross nowadays. He does sound like he doesn't. He thinks. I don't know. It feels like he thinks the bigger stars were back in the day.
Yeah.
He feels a little bit like he's stepped down a little bit.
Like, this guy's doing a good move, but back in the day, I don't know.
I like old school references and things, but sometimes it goes back a little too far too. I'm like, I don't know if anyone remembers that reference.
Like, the Hardy Boys, that was a great team.
Yeah, that's. I mean, because you got to remember that was like 20 years ago. I mean, what's the?
That's so accurate.
I mean, I like the Hardy Boys, but come on.
Like best friends, they're a good team, but the Hardy Boys, that was a team. Those were stars.
How do you learn to fall off a ladder? And Pumpkinhead Neo Akira says, is this new commentator the new Mike Adamle? And AEW may drop depending on the impression AEW left to viewers. That sounds about right. Chris Pantaleo says, Raw is my favorite horror movie. You must be a Fiend fan.
No Fiend tonight. No Fiend tonight.
Let's
So Orton. All right, we should get into Raw.
Yes, we should. Let's do it.
Did you guys know that this is a Raw after show? We talk about
It is.
Overall, opening the show, Drew opens the show with a promo. He reminds us that he came out wanting a rematch with Lashley last week. Then he reminds us that a three-way match was booked last week. Then he reminds us that he won the match to earn the rematch last week. And then he reminds us that Mace and T-Bar attacked him afterwards last week. So pretty much did the after show himself in the opening promo. But MVP comes out, and I loved what MVP did here, talking about downsizing the Hurt Business and that there's no reason for Mason T-Bar to help him out because Lashley could beat him without help anyways. He already proved it. And maybe Drew attacking the locker room came back to haunt him. But the best thing about this for me in this opening promo, and I'd like to get your guys' opinion before we get into all the other stuff, is that when Mace and T-Bar attacked and they left, they didn't acknowledge MVP, which to me then opens up a world of questions. What is their affiliation, if any, with the Hurt Business? Why are they attacking Drew McIntyre? What's going on? And to me, it hooks me, hoping I'm going to see a resolution by the end of this episode. Am I just being too optimistic, Issa, with these intros? Or did you like that they kind of left us with some questions at the beginning promo?
I think you're being too optimistic, 100%. I hate Drew McIntyre as the number one contender after he lost clean at WrestleMania. I cannot stand it. The moment he comes out, I want to punch his face because he doesn't deserve to be there, and they could have given that to anybody. Bobby Lashley was nowhere to be found tonight, or am I wrong? He wasn't seen tonight.
No.
Okay, so neither was. There was a lot of people that were not seen tonight. And nothing
Almost.
makes sense. And AJ Styles, nothing makes sense. And Drew McIntyre did a great job at reminding us that nothing of what we watched last week made sense or what we're going to watch tonight. It felt like those puzzles that you have to find the differences. That's how Raw felt from last week to this week, where you're just like picking and trying to see what was different the one from the other. I didn't like it. And as long as Drew McIntyre keeps getting these title shots, it's not fair. He's being shoved down our throat, and people need to realize it. It's annoying. He annoys me. Sorry.
No, I mean, that's totally fair. I was going to say, to add to your point, I like Drew. I just think it is getting kind of repetitive, him coming out basically saying that he's better than everybody every single week for the past year. Raj, how did you like the beginning of this episode?
To Issa's point, Drew is he's just bland. There's nothing exciting about Drew versus Lashley. And to that point, I don't know what is exciting. Lashley's great, but who is there to work with him? So that makes it interesting.
Lashley has a handful of feuds. That's the reason why I didn't want Drew to regain the title, because he fought everyone on Raw where Lashley hasn't. So you have a handful of feuds that you can do with Lashley, but you're going to stick him with Drew McIntyre until Lord knows how long. Like, we've seen it. The main event of Backlash, well, not the main event, but they were in Backlash last year, was Lashley and McIntyre. Like, this has been going on for a long time.
So let me ask you both this. Who is interesting? What is an interesting feud for Lashley?
Randy
Orton.
Is it?
I love Randy Orton and I love Bobby Lashley, so for me it's a win. But I'm biased. I love those two.
I love Orton too, but it's just I guess overdone. I don't know. As far as a feud you could like sink your teeth into, like, again, like going back in the day with The Rock or someone like that. What is that is like, holy shit, I gotta watch that? And
Brock Lesnar, but he's not around. That's the only person I want to see Lashley fight.
Cena's not around.
I could see a Braun for a short-term feud.
Oh, God.
Jack, please stop.
They buried Braun. Braun looks...
Two big sizzling hunks of beef going at it. Come on.
What did Dan say last week with Braun?
Dan had a lot of good one-liners
He
last.
said, Braun, his current gimmick, he looks like he was breaking into Nancy Pelosi's
Storming the
office that
Capitol.
day.
Oh my god.
He does.
He does though. Him and Jackson Riker are going to team up. We have but we so I mean I would say this. I feel like Drew, in my opinion, he's kind of becoming like the old Roman Reigns before Roman Reigns was the head of the table, where he was this guy that just kind of won all the time, talked forever on the microphone, just beat people for the sake of beating people, but didn't really have much beyond that. And I think that's why he's starting to wear thin, is I think we're all kind of like, we've seen this guy before.
I've always liked Roman Reigns, right? I've been a big fan of his, regardless of how he was being booked. But I have said this is giving me shades of 2015 Roman Reigns all over. And people, I think maybe people are more open to Drew because I don't see the level of criticism as what Roman was getting back then. But I really do get that. It feels that way to me.
Dude, Roman was way better than Drew is now. I felt like Roman had charisma. Drew, he's not a babyface. He doesn't have that charisma. He's not that. He reminds me of Bret Hart in '95, where the business just started dropping. And Bret was awesome, and you wanted to like him, but the business was not showing that. And and business dropped, and everything was dropping. And then once Bret got an edge, once Bret turned heel, he was one of the top guys in the business. And I just feel like Drew, he needs that. He's just not that interesting right now.
I think he's, to your point, I think he's so much better as a villain. I think when he was the Scottish psychopath, he was amazing.
That Triple H villain, like when he did it with Heath Slater, when he was just being a dick to him, that's interesting.
Yes.
And this guy is like, I'll kick your face in.
Because to your point, a lot of the things that aren't interesting, the reason why they're not interesting is because he's been built up as so unstoppable. You need an unstoppable person to face him. But if he's a bully, then he can face guys who are, for lack of a better term, below him. And it's okay because he's bullying them now. As opposed to if he has a match against, an Humberto Carrillo, you're like, dude, what are you doing now? But if he's bullying Humberto Carrillo, you're like, oh, what a jerk. Why is he picking on this guy? He barely gets TV time. And so I think it makes a different statement there. But after the break, before that, we got Provide 24/7 saying, I love how Drew gets a rematch, but Kofi never did. Don't be surprised if Bobby gets buried at the pay-per-view. Doesn't give enough credit to the black athletes. I'm a huge fan of Bobby Lashley. I hope he retains again. I hope he keeps the title for a long, long time.
I mean, the fact that he retained at a WrestleMania, that's a big change in what we've seen over the years. So
yeah,
fairly clean too, which is good to see.
Yeah.
And Jax Collins says, it sucks Lashley champ when guys like Brock, etc. are not around. Look at Drew's case. He won the belt, kind of bad timing. Hope not the same situation. Me too. So far, I mean, with MVP, I think he gets a little bit more flexibility. Priest versus Lashley would be a good feud, says Isabella Ringing. I think that's something I think needs some time to marinate, personally. I think Priest needs to sort of show up a little bit.
Yeah,
before,
we're not there yet, for sure.
But after the break, Drew's, or I guess Kevin Patrick first tries to talk to Retribution after the match. I was hoping that they would already be, not to tip the hand of what happens later. I was hoping they would be the unmasked versions of themselves already, but they kind of just seemed same old Retribution at this point. Which, I don't know, doesn't make sense to me. These guys are good-looking guys that check all the boxes. Why not make them, normal people? Why make them masked monsters? But I guess we'll talk about that in a little bit. After the break, Drew wants a match and wants to face the Retribution guys single-handedly. Pierce says he needs a partner, but he says, no, I don't want one. Again, this is one of those things. I liked it. I was overreaching here a little bit, but I was thinking maybe he'll get a partner. Maybe it'll be Keith Lee. Maybe it'll be someone cool. Again, it made me think I want to see what happens later in the night. Did you guys like Drew wanting to take these guys on 1-on-2?
It's exactly what I was expecting him to do and say.
Yeah, I agree.
Sadly, it is. That's what he keeps doing. This is me and Drew McIntyre. Yeah, okay.
You know what? I thought for what it was fine. In the sense that if Drew beat them, they would have been buried. Mm-hmm. And he didn't beat them. It was a DQ twice, which sucked. Like that's, to do a DQ twice. But Mason teabag, them getting their masks off, they're moving on. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
The thing that happened after that, and this is where, I'm usually a positive guy, but this is where my feathers got a little ruffled, as they say. Viking Raiders versus Shelton and Cedric, the match we saw last week. I love these teams, but this kind of matchup can become repetitive very quickly and probably will. The positive is, I always like to add the positive. They're two great teams getting TV time, but the negative time, I already feel like it's repetitive and stale. Cedric and Shelton take another loss. My question, Issa, we'll start with you, is since the tag team division is pretty shallow at the moment, would you rather see these teams pick up wins against like local talent kind of guys, or thrown together teams instead? Or what do you want to see from these teams to better showcase them? Because I think we'd all agree watching them just have rematch after rematch with the same team winning over and over again probably doesn't help anybody.
No, it doesn't help anybody. At the same time, they just came back. They just did the exact same match on the exact same spot they did it last week. It was brutal the way that they booked that, because it already felt repetitive. I'm happy to see them back. It just feels like, what are we doing with the tag team division? Because the new tag champions have not been seen since WrestleMania, and you're just throwing these weird matches here and there and not even mentioning them. You have the New Day later on. It feels like the New Day won at WrestleMania because they have been featured more than the actual tag team champions. I want to see them get win, but like switch it around. They could have had the Viking Raiders against the New Day tonight, but they didn't do that. They just literally went with the exact same matchups we had last week. It was pointless.
I'm in the same spot on the card too. Mm-hmm. I think
in the exact same spot. I think Raj just spilled his wine.
I almost did, yeah. But I didn't.
And it's red.
Yeah. I agree 100%. I just think, I think WWE, they are not following up on stuff. Mm-hmm. AJ and Omos had a ton of steam coming out of WrestleMania. That was dominant. And they haven't been on TV since. If one of them is injured, just have Omos do a promo. I don't know what the deal is, but
yeah,
just do something. Follow up momentum. It's a real thing. Follow up on it. God.
They're not even mentioning them. Like, not even a video package. We saw Cesaro swing Rollins 80 times on SmackDown. But you can't even mention your tag champions or your world champion on Raw? That's just weird to me.
I actually forgot they were the champions during Raw. As I was taking my notes, I was like, who is the champions? And I did the thing where I'm not going to look it up. And I had to think for a little bit longer than I expected to remember. Oh, yeah, those guys are the champions. But in this day and age, you're right, Raj. There's so much. It's so easy to record something from home, even if they can't be in the arena. In this day and age, we're all used to Zoom interviews and things like that. It'd be very easy to just have a quick Zoom interview like, ha, I'm AJ, and I'm sitting with the champion. Hey, I'm going to have it forever, blah, blah, and then move on or something.
You don't have to do much with Omos. Just have him looking like a beast, and he's awesome, right? Like, just his size and everything. That's all you need to do is just shoot him up, looking up, and that's it.
Yeah, to your point, you could just have him running errands. Could you imagine him just like getting dry cleaning done and like in regular places and just towering over? Because he towers over massive athletes. Imagine him just at a grocery store.
He should be, again, I just watched Lethal Weapon 2 last night. He should be that guy that's just killing everybody.
Like, what if he came out, and speaking of handicap matches, what if you just got the quote-unquote local talent, and he said, AJ can't be here, so I'm going to defend the titles by myself, and then he just wrecks 2 people.
I would love that.
I remember Andre the Giant when I was a kid, and I'm thinking, like, if everyone in my school fought Andre the Giant, we couldn't beat him, because he would just keep fighting us off, and there's no way.
Right.
And now I'm not saying you should do that, have a bunch of little kids fighting, almost, but...
I'd buy tickets for that. I don't know what you're talking about.
But, he has that aura, and don't fuck it up, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. I agree, though. He needs to be back on TV one way or the other. We got a couple of super chats. We've got Jax Khan saying, it sucks Lashley's a champ when guys like Brock, etc. are not around. Look at Drew's case. He won the belt. Kind of bad timing. Hope it's not the same situation. I think the timing is part of it. I also think, to what's been said, the repetitive nature of it, too.
It's not just that. Look at... If you were to take a picture of Brock and Drew side by side, who is more interesting to you?
Brock.
Yeah.
Brock
is just the man. I mean,
Yeah.
Brock just has that charisma, that larger than life. I mean, he's just the guy. And Roman's in that same territory. You look at him and you're like, that guy is a superstar. That guy is awesome. And
My neighbor, to your point, my neighbor who doesn't watch pro wrestling, we were chatting about wrestling because he knows I do this, and he was like, I don't watch wrestling, but who's that guy with who looks like he has a Lego head? And I was like, Brock Lesnar? And he's like, yeah, Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. It's like, my wife cheated on me with Roman Reigns. It's like, okay, I get it.
Details.
That's the one. You get one.
Yeah, you get one. Fair. I can't argue.
No, I'm just kidding. No, that's not allowed.
We got Chair Shot Reality says, Drew face is uphill with no fans. Rumble 20 eliminating Brock with fans gave new face feels we wanted. Issa doesn't believe in Scottish Ladywood. LeVar,
why are you bringing that up? Stop living in the past, bro.
Where are we?
Stop living in the past.
Where are we? I'm
did I miss one?
Here we go. That was the one.
Yeah, it's just Justin LeVar living in the past. Let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
Justin.
What
the hell?
Come on. Isabella Ringing is the Priest versus Lashley would be a good feud. That's the one that I feel like Priest needs to get some time before that. Bring back Broken Dreams, Drew, the Chosen One. I like the theme. I don't know. I'll be honest, I feel like going back to the kilt thing kind of slowed him down for me. Like I liked him as a Scottish psychopath, but I feel like the Braveheart thing makes him feel like a kind of a early 90s cheesy guy, personally.
Yeah. Once he started doing the face paint, it's like, like you're a cartoon.
You already were the guy. You don't need to become the guy. You were the guy. Why do that stuff? But Pumpkinhead says, just glad WWE hasn't hit the Goldberg button yet, although Goldberg versus Lashley is a Vince wet dream. I love Goldberg. I love
Goldberg.
Bring him back. Like
Issa hates him, but
Big Money Bill.
Issa, you weren't a fan in the 90s.
Me clicking leave studio. No.
But you weren't a fan in the 90s, right?
Not of whatever. No. Not of him. Not of WCW, no.
But wrestling? Were you a wrestling fan?
Yeah, I was just a fan of the real stuff in Puerto Rico. Where we're like messing people up with bats and that's how we do it in Puerto Rico. Okay, that's the wrestling I fell in love with. Not this spear.
Do you remember how huge Goldberg was back then?
Nope.
Someone shared a TV guide recently from back then, and it was talking like the thing was all about pro wrestling. It was a giant full picture of Goldberg, and then in small pictures it had Stone Cold and Hulk Hogan and The Rock.
Yeah.
And I was thinking Goldberg was the one they chose to be big over The Rock, Stone Cold, and Hulk Hogan, which I mean, it seems so long ago, but like if you remember, he was the guy that was such a big star back then.
Goldberg and Austin were interchangeable that year.
Yeah.
Like it was.
Yeah. I do remember that.
It was nuts. And by the way, if you haven't watched the A&E biography on Stone Cold Steve Austin, watch it. That thing was amazing. I could teary-eyed watching him talking about his daughters. It was amazing.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm excited to see it.
Oh my God, it's so good.
We got, and then Mike Roch says, tag division is terribly run.
Agreed.
And shout out to David as well for the super chat. Stellar Justin Lopez says, for Raj, this is for you, since he just saw Lethal Weapon 2, Rudd Diplomatic Immunity.
Diplomatic immunity.
It's just been revoked. And then I think we missed Brian Cyrus. No AJ Lashley, Fiend, 3 of your top stars, but sure, let's get Teabag and Mace on the show. WTF is going on. Raj, is there some type of outbreak going on?
All right. 3 of your top stars. Who do you guys got?
I think this is the time of year where they give them a little bit of a rest, 1 week off, just to get everybody back into shape. WrestleMania season week is a long week for everybody. So I don't think that there shouldn't be an outbreak. They quarantined them before WrestleMania. So if there's an outbreak, it happened backstage at WrestleMania, then that means a lot of people must have gotten it. I think people are just taking a little bit of time off to heal a couple of nagging injuries, and we'll see them come right back.
Yeah, I think everyone's... But, all right. But,
yeah.
Issa,
Wrong.
3 of your top stars. Who do you push? Who's the focus on the show the next 3 months?
On Raw?
Yeah.
Lashley. You have to push Lashley. You have to... Well, they're not going to push Rhea Ripley. You can already see they're not giving her the Bianca Belair treatment, right? I don't think that we're in for a long title reign with Rhea Ripley. It hurts me to say it, but I don't think so. But that will be who I will push. And I guess Charlotte Flair. I mean, she just came back, so yeah. But I will put all my emphasis on Lashley, and I will book him in a feud with like Orton, somebody that's won multiple title runs, and that way if he beats him, you really solidify him.
All right, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Lashley and Orton. My only problem with that is I want Lashley to hold the title, and Orton has been the guy that solidified like the past 5 champions, it seems like, whether it be McIntyre or Kofi, and it seems like anytime a new person wins the title, it's Orton's job to solidify them. But in any case, I think those two, and it may not look that way, but if it was me, I would make Rhea Ripley completely unstoppable.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm with you. If I were to pick 3, I'm picking Orton, Lashley, and a blood feud. Like,
yeah,
not this kiddie stuff. Just like they're trying to kill each other, and Rhea Ripley just murdering these girls. You know,
yes.
Like as gross as it is, let her bloody someone up.
Yeah, I think Ripley should be Goldberging everyone and just
kill them,
destroying people, and like throwing them through tables, and anytime someone comes at her, just wrecking them quickly.
The stuff they're doing with her sucks. Like they're burying her. Just this week and last week, they're burying her.
The problem
her promos sucked.
Yeah, the problem with Rhea Ripley is that you know that they didn't have the plans for her. Like they didn't know they were gonna make her champion. She found out she was calling out Asuka the day off at 4 p.m. Right. So this is a title run that's being booked the day off. This is not a long term. This is what we have in plan for you, and you can see the difference. I feel with Bianca, you can see this was the long term end game was for her to win the title. Well, with Rhea, we're just going day by day, and you can see it. And she cannot become comfortable in her role as champion when she doesn't know what she's supposed to be doing because they're not telling her.
Yeah, the thing that makes it tricky for someone like Rhea, I think, is she's such an authentic person that when she's not authentic, you can see right through it. Mm-hmm. So we've got a couple more super chats. Dean Reagan, only 2. Who should beat Bobby or Brock, or who should beat Bobby? Are Brock or Cross? Sure. I think Cross is probably a long shot. He's probably got a ways before he's on the main roster, but at least I would think. I don't know.
I would like for all NXT people to stay in NXT, actually. So.
And then we also got John Cena's bald spot had said, really hope T-Bar and Mace are on their own agenda and don't line up with Lashley. They were constantly beat by Benjamin Cedric. Would make no sense to replace Benjamin and Cedric with those two. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but we'll see.
Right. Is this the one? I'm way behind.
Yeah.
That's the one. I think if I missed one, let me know. Goldberg versus Locker Room Doors is pay-per-view quality. I'm with you. I agree, Chris. I'm with you.
Issa, We're gonna fight on this with the Goldberg thing.
Ron Taylor says there's no legit babyface to challenge Lashley. What do you think of putting Big E on Raw to feud with Lashley? I don't think you need to. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily necessary. I like Big E, but I don't think you need to move people around. I think I feel like if you're always having to move people around to make things work, then you're kind of missing the point of having rosters.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And you got magic heels right now in Lashley and Reigns. Mm-hmm. Make it mean something when they're beaten. Don't just do it.
Yeah.
You know, Daniel Bryan could have won at WrestleMania, and it would have taken away from when someone actually does beat Roman Reigns.
Right.
So make it mean something.
I think both those guys should have the titles for a very long time. 'Cause both of them look like champions too. I hate to be that guy, but like when you see a picture of Bobby Lashley with the title around his waist, you're like, that is a champion. That guy's a champ.
You look at Roman again.
I just want to point out to everybody in the chat that it's not me thirsting over Roman tonight. I know everybody always makes the comment. It's Raj tonight. I'm staying off of it. I do that on Fridays.
Facts are facts. Facts are facts. WWE missed
Chris.
the boat.
Chris is in the chat. Thank you, Chris.
Hi,
Thanks, Chris. Chris, keep up the great work, Raj, Jack, and Issa. Thank you, Chris.
Much
that means
appreciated.
a lot.
Thank you, man.
And then Tim says, "Is Raj prompting the super chats?"
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
And then David had said WWE missed the boat on the Hurt Business. They could have had a battle of the champions at SummerSlam, or Roman, Usos, and Joe versus the Hurt Business at Survivor Series. I agree. I love the Hurt Business. They were one of my favorite things over the past year. So I definitely wish they had more of them. But it's wrestling. You can't hold on to things. You got to let things go.
Alonzo, what the hell, man?
Alonzo, Raj has a man crush on Roman Reigns. It's more than a crush, and it's okay.
It's beyond that.
He's mine. I'll fight you. For him.
Me and Issa are gonna fight over him.
Roman Reigns doesn't have a choice in the matter. The winner of the fight between you two decides.
Let me ask you this: of the people that were released, who are you surprised about? Outside of Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe.
That was it, right?
Yeah. Samoa Joe had to be the most surprising because he was, not only is he great, but he was killing it on commentary. I thought he was going to be on commentary for the next 10 years.
But if he can't wrestle, was it surprising?
I still think he's great on commentary, but
I think Samoa Joe could be moved into a manager role. And the way that he is in the mic, you could take him to speak for somebody that can't speak, Drew McIntyre. He could make him so believable. So if he can't wrestle, I feel like Samoa Joe is a benefit for whoever gets him, even if he can't wrestle, whether it's on commentary, whether it is as a mentor backstage, teaching a couple of up-and-comers. I think Samoa Joe is an asset. And he was wearing a poncho just 2 days before on a thunderstorm.
100%. I do not understand how you release Samoa Joe. Even if he can't wrestle.
I know.
Yeah.
He's just too great. And the Iconics, man, they were one of those teams that they just split up for no reason. And they fucked them up. They were great together. Yep. It was like Ricardo and Alberto Del Rio, or Miro and Lana. All these groups where they had a great chemistry, and they just split them up for no reason. And that was one of those.
For a company that prides itself on trending on Twitter and social media, it feels like they don't look at what is being said on social media a lot, because these are all people that were very beloved on social. Like the Iconics were beloved on social media.
Like, they had a unique chemistry and they won the tag titles at WrestleMania. And I remember when people jumped on Sasha Banks for being upset. And I remember being like, well, she's right. They're not doing anything with these titles.
Yeah. Right.
She had worked so hard to get these titles up to a certain level, and they're not doing anything with them.
They still aren't.
And they still aren't. Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was completely right. So.
And Yeah, so of course, a few quick more chats. John Cena's Ball Spot says Samoa Joe would have been a nice feud for Lashley, but of course WWE released him. I think that would have been a great feud. Jax Collins says, okay, Joe's gone, but if he was cleared to wrestle, he'd be great with Bobby, 1,000%. And Brian Cyrus.
So I do got to say this about Joe. He was the one guy with Brock Lesnar. He seemed believable.
Yep.
It's hard to find guys that are believable with Brock. I can name 3 guys: Roman, Strowman, and Joe. That's it.
Joe had such a believability to him. There was a moment, I'll never forget it, when Seth Rollins, it was a really small moment, but Joe was at commentary and Seth Rollins was doing something with the Mysterios, or he was bad-mouthing Todd Phillips or something, and Samoa Joe like tries to push him off, and he's like, Joe, you don't want to do this, and Joe takes off his headset and goes, oh, but I do. And I just remember thinking, oh,
yeah, that shit's going down.
Seth's going to get it. If anyone else said that, if Byron Saxton said that, no disrespect to Byron Saxton, like, come on, dude, what are you doing? If anyone else said that, you'd be like, whatever. But when Samoa Joe says it, you're like, oh, someone's getting choked out right now. Right. And that's one of those things I don't think you can teach. I don't think you can just give that to someone. And Samoa Joe just has it. He could read my grocery list and I'd be terrified of it. I'd be like, I don't know if I want this food anymore.
Arugula.
So let's go ahead. We got a few. Supposedly Joe is pushing to wrestle again. Hopefully he was. I don't know. I have no idea what his situation was.
If Joe is able to wrestle again, then it is the biggest mistake that WWE has made.
Yeah.
If he can't wrestle again, then it makes sense. Because who's gonna pick him up as an announcer?
I mean, I don't know.
It's crowded everywhere.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But let's go ahead. Let's try to get the train back on track. Let's talk about
Raw.
Raw. Did you guys like Raw?
Second match.
Speaking of second matches, Randy Orton and Riddle. I loved this because Orton said again that the Fiend is in the rearview mirror, and I'm so happy to hear that. But what I liked is Riddle coming in, acting like a 6-year-old kid that could actually beat you up. And I know you guys hate Matt Riddle, but you got to admit.
I hate with the passion.
Raj, you got to admit, RK Bro has a ring to it.
Oh.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't, guys.
Issa, help me out here.
He doesn't. It doesn't have. I can't believe he just said that.
It sucks
Listen,
balls.
it doesn't have. They got into an argument over a scooter. I'm so sick of Matt Riddle. I was hoping that bro kick at WrestleMania kicked him back to reality, and he wouldn't be acting like an idiot anymore. But it made him worse. And then you see him go in the ring, and that's what is so frustrating to me when it comes to Matt Riddle. Is you see him in the ring and he's so good, but then as soon as he talks or birds come out of his feet, you want to punch him yourself. And then Randy losing to him clean? No, the dude just lost at WrestleMania. He got jobbed out by Lashley last week, and you're gonna let him beat Randy?
And not just that, Lashley beat the living piss out of him. He destroyed him.
Yeah,
like it was.
As he should.
And that Randy Orton's having a hard time with this guy after,
This is why I like it though. Let me say why I like these two, because Matt Riddle is exactly the kind of person a Randy Orton would pick on. He's exactly the kind of person that a Viper would say, I don't like this guy. I don't like that he acts like he can just do whatever he wants and just come up and talk to me. I'm going to beat this guy up. And then when he loses clean, which by the way, I think we got to give some respect to WWE for some clean wins here tonight. A clean win.
Was the only one that should have not been clean. He's the one that they freaking booked clean.
Well,
Randy Orton beats the Fiend and he loses 2 matches in a row.
Thank you. It makes no sense.
No sense. The Fiend it was a 6-month storyline. He won, and then he loses 2 matches in a row after that. To Riddle,
Randy was in a number one contender match.
I'm not defending the Fiend, so
Randy was in a number one contender match last week. He lost because Drew McIntyre took advantage of that RKO, and he had nothing to say about that. The Randy that I know would have not done that. The Randy that I know would have just came up and he would have picked a fight with Drew and Braun, not Matt Riddle.
That sucked.
I loved it. I thought it was great. I think Randy Orton's still a star. I think he's still amazing. My big thing is this feels kind of like the Randy Orton template. He kind of does this a bit where he picks a fight with someone kind of not at his level. He loses, and then he says, I'm really angry, and he comes back and RKOs him in the middle of a match later. Then they have a pay-per-view match. Then Randy Orton wins.
Yeah,
goes
they
on
gave us the match tonight.
guy.
That match went on for a long time, and it was great. The feud should be over after tonight because the match was lengthy. He had a clean finish. Like, what do? You keep giving us the same match for the next 3 weeks?
Orton should have killed him.
Isn't that what a villain's supposed to do, though? Not be happy about it and be like, hey, I'm crabby?
Fiend after a 6-month feud. He should be winning big matches right now. He should be the guy going for Lashley.
He should be the number one contender.
He should be in that picture.
But the Fiend is a guy who got beat up so bad in Hell in a Cell, they had to stop it.
I mean, they fucked up the Fiend. They did fuck up the Fiend. But
I mean, I don't know. So I don't know. Is beating the Fiend really that big of a deal at the end of the day?
Yes.
I mean, people can like him. I mean, I know a lot of people like him, but is beating the Fiend really?
Am I cussing too much? I am cussing too much. All right.
It's okay.
No, it's good. It's good for likes. It's good. We're gonna play a game. Anytime you hear Raj cuss, you got to hit the like button.
Hit the like, guys.
I'll take a drink.
Stellar Justin says Orton was promoted to face Braun all weekend, and Vince at the last minute changed it to this. I do not know those details, but
it is. They promoted that. They promoted Randy fighting Braun or some kind of altercation between them, and then they changed him to I don't know. What I like him.
People give Dave Meltzer a lot of shit because he says plans change, but they do. This is total pure, truth to that. It does. They change all the time.
On the day off, right? Don't they change the script like hours before?
Plans changing when it actually does.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I mean, and then what happened to Michael says, what happened to Seth Rollins? I thought he was a top guy material when he beat Brock. Anyways, been watching for years. Love your work, Raj and the gang. That's a SmackDown question. We don't have time for this SmackDown talk. No, I'm just
Michael, come back on Friday. I'll be here, buddy. I'll be here.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Seth Rollins.
Seth's character has sucked for years.
Seth is great right now, in my opinion, on Fridays. I do like what Seth is doing, and his outfits are on point.
His suits are
amazing. Yeah.
But his suits
the Messiah sucked.
He's not the Messiah wasn't the greatest, but whatever he's doing right now is giving me very Seth 2015 vibes, and his match with Cesaro was amazing.
Yeah, and then John Cena's bald spot says, every time I see Riddle roll up on that stupid scooter, I want to throw up. Randy has a face turn and destroys it next week. Randy was throwing up black tar like a truth.com ad for a while there, but now he's beating up Riddle, so I think we all win.
I want to beat the... Okay.
Yeah. You don't know.
I'm actually a very nice guy.
You just don't...
I want to beat the piss out of him when I see him.
I want to beat everybody.
That's the thing about Matt Riddle. I think that's what I like about him is he's kind of that underdog where, I love the moment where Randy Orton was like, had him in the headlines, like, you hear what I'm saying? And he was like, I hear what you're saying, bro. In the middle of the match.
I tell my daughters, the worst thing is bullying and everything, but I'd bully Matt Riddle. If I could.
As I say, I don't know. Matt Riddle.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Obviously. I'm kidding. There's no way. I mean, look at me.
No.
I'll beat him up for you. I'm not afraid of him.
Yeah. I have no problem standing behind Issa in a dangerous situation.
I'll beat up anybody.
I hate Riddle. I cannot. I'm trying to think of a character that I have been as angry with as Riddle.
Did you hate him on NXT or do you just hate him now?
No. On the main roster.
I feel that way about Rey Mysterio. I want Dominic to punch him in the face so hard. Yes.
You hate Rey Mysterio?
More than Matt Riddle?
Yeah.
You think Rey Mysterio is more annoying than Matt Riddle?
Yeah, without even talking. It's great.
Rey Mysterio's legacied in his greatness. How do you...
Oh, Jack, it's going to be okay.
You think Rey Mysterio is more annoying than Matt Riddle?
Yeah. I want Dominic to punch him in the face.
Oh my god.
Really?
And say you're not my real father. Eddie is my real father. And just clock him right in the face. I would love that moment.
Wow.
I mean, I think it's happening.
In the chat, who is the most annoying character ever in wrestling right now? Actually, let's just do right now. And let's see. If Ray would not be in the top 10 of mine.
Yeah,
top
like I
30.
said, Ray's so lovable. Like I said, he's a legend. How do you hate a legend?
Issa, fucked up. That's not right.
Not allowed.
You can't say Ray.
No.
I can't. Actually, it offends me that that's even his name because that's my dad's name too. So.
Oh my gosh. All right. So,
Michael with the super chat says Seth is the one to beat Reigns, yes or
Sammy.
no?
All right, here we go. So Eugene,
Riddle. Sammy. Oh, Sammy's good.
Riddle and Billy Gunn's kids. Issa's trolling.
I think so.
Trolling.
I feel like that's true.
I don't like Rey Mysterio.
George Devine says Vince loses interest in guys Keith Lee, Balor, Black, but won't lose interest in this stupid Matt Riddle character and send him back to NXT. I've never understood why Keith Lee wasn't an automatic superstar.
I'll tell you why. I can tell you why.
Why?
His gut.
Look at Stellar Justin Lopez. Thank you.
I mean, are we going to be real? If we're going to be real, Lee
like
doesn't have the physique that Vince likes. I mean,
he works through it though. Like his.
Oh, I love Keith Lee. But
fair.
That
fair.
is what it is. Vince has, like Brock. If Brock had a giant gut, he's not getting that giant push.
It is interesting. Yeah, I guess when you mentioned, I guess Otis had at least a mini run, but I mean, you're not wrong. There's not a whole lot of bigger guys that have world title reigns.
There's not,
I mean, I'm sure someone right now is saying, "What about Yokozuna?" Which was like 30 years ago. But, and then Nelson says Wade Barrett. I think Wade Barrett's great.
What?
I love Wade Barrett.
Wade Barrett is awesome. He's ripped.
So
he can have sex. No, I'm just kidding. He can have sex with my wife. No, I'm just kidding.
There's like 40 people on the list. You just keep adding.
I'm kidding. No one.
No.
By the way, I'm just joking.
And so yeah, Vince loses interesting guys. Yeah. But he's going to keep Matt Riddle on. Speaking of someone who doesn't seem to ever lose interest, Charlotte Flair comes out looking great in a jacket that has shoulder pads that makes 1985 jealous and says the women's roster is fake and that she had her match taken away from her. And she ain't wrong. She did. I thought this promo was effective in reminding us all that tonight we get a what if match scenario where we get to see what if she had that match at WrestleMania. And the best part, Rhea Ripley says, this is my division. She comes out and says she's going to rule like King Solomon because she's the one with the gold. You guys,
I'm gonna refill. I'll be right back.
Okay. So Issa, you don't like Raj is leaving because I just said how much I liked Rhea Ripley, but you guys aren't a big fan of how this went out.
I like Rhea Ripley. I don't like how they're booking her right now, right? She just doesn't feel effective. She doesn't feel the way she looks, if that makes sense, right? Like she should be a little more intimidating. I feel like this entire 2 weeks, well, since WrestleMania, it's been 2 weeks, Charlotte has looked like the biggest star out of the three of them. And that's not, I mean, how do you shine Charlotte's star down? You can't. It's Charlotte Flair, right? She comes out, she commands the room. That's what I love about her. I'm a big Charlotte fan. But in this case, I'm a big fan of the three of them. I just don't think that Rhea is shining in this. And that worries me for her title reign. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think that Charlotte is just coming out there, cutting these amazing promos, looking great. And you go, I mean, and they done it with Charlotte Flair. They done it before. They put the title on her regardless of who has it, and they did it with Asuka and they did it with Rhea in both cases. So it worries you. It worries you because she is shining more than everybody else in this.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I like all three of these women, by the way. I want to say Asuka. There's an old phrase that says it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I feel like Asuka is the embodiment of that. I don't know what she's saying half the time, but I love whatever it is she's saying because she's just got this personality and energy to her. But I think to your point, yeah, it feels like right now the spotlight is getting shown on Asuka and Charlotte Flair, and then Rhea Ripley is just kind of there with the title. If she didn't have the title, she wouldn't even be there, is how it kind of feels. Where Rhea Ripley's a star. I think she's someone who could be that next generational huge star, especially because she's like 24 years old. So she's got so long to go.
Yeah.
Rhea Ripley's someone who I can see action figures. I can see posters. I can see all sorts of things. She's someone that if Rhea Ripley walks out and someone who doesn't watch wrestling sees her, they go, whoa, who is that? So
yeah, Rhea Ripley has it the same way, in a different way, because she's portraying a different character. But I remember the first time I saw her and she made me stop and go, who is that? And I think it was Charlotte Flair, the last person that actually made me go that way. That's why when they were having their match last year, I was so pumped for it. I didn't like the outcome of it. But that was the point that I was trying to make. Charlotte has gone against Asuka at WrestleMania and Asuka dropped. Charlotte has gone against Rhea at WrestleMania, Rhea dropped. So it's not something that we should be shocked if it happens. I don't want to see it happen. I don't think that Charlotte needs a title to be that bitch. Sorry, she doesn't. She is already that. She doesn't need a title on her for that. So leave her out of the title picture and start building grudge feuds between other women.
Can she have a feud with someone else without kind of burying them, though?
She's the opportunity. Jack, did you not hear her?
Yes. Speaking of Jack, meet NWO Raj. It's rare now, but his alter ego is always a pleasure. Thanks for the warning, Jack. It's a little late. I wish you had warned me before the show started. Yeah. Now it's like, I've already got the NWO spray painted on me now. It's too late. But John Cena's Ball Spot also says, always thought Otis was annoying, but not as bad as Riddle. He takes the cake as far as most annoying. He's changed the channel annoying. Maybe I'm outnumbered here. Matt Riddle, I'm still your bro. I still like you. Maybe it's because I'm living here in Southern California and I feel like I live around a bunch of Matt Riddles. So maybe I'm just feeling it. But Raj, leaving for a refill is me anytime Riddle comes on the screen.
That's funny.
See, there's a marketing chance there, WWE. You got to just add like a Coca-Cola as a sponsor. Instead of the birds coming out, you got to have Coca-Cola cans when he kicks his shoes. But let's move on to Sheamus. Sheamus, he's talking to Scrap Daddy, and Adam Pearce is trying to get Sheamus to move into the open challenge era of the U.S. title. Sheamus agrees, but says the title won't be on the line. And I hate when champs are in matches when the title's not on the line, but I guess that's the point. I'm not supposed to like Sheamus, so here we are. And he's going to have a match. I guess we'll just kind of lump that part together. He has a match with a shredded to the bone Humberto Carrillo coming back and just wrecks him. I loved this for Sheamus, who, by the way, has been
Humberto Carrillo was no.
No.
Just kidding.
I mean, again, he's a handsome fella.
He is.
But I feel bad for Humberto Carrillo. He gets shredded and then destroyed, but at the same time,
holy shit, he was jacked.
Dude, he looked great.
He still looks like a Menudo reject.
But man, he I like this Sheamus. I feel like Sheamus has had some real like heavy hitting matches, and now it's time for him to be the one to dish out some punishment. Issa, are you a Sheamus fan?
1000%. Love Sheamus. Love what he's been doing lately. I still stay up late at night thinking about the finish of his match with Matt Riddle and the way he hit him with that bro kick. It was a beautiful finish. I didn't like how Adam Pearce was talking to Sheamus backstage, though. He talked to him like he's like a rookie. Like, oh, you need to remember what this title means. Like, Sheamus has held it before. He knows what the title means.
These aren't school children.
Yeah, you're talking to a dude that's won everything in the book. Like, I think except for the IC title. Like, Sheamus is that dude. And I didn't like how commentary was like, oh, by the way, he's being ambushed. He ambushed Humberto Carrillo. You answer an open challenge, you better come out ready for a fight. Like, I didn't understand how but I get it because Sheamus is the heel. We're not supposed to like him. But listen, I was happy to see Humberto was back on TV. Whatever, like you have all these guys sitting back there. Yes, start doing the open challenge. That's exactly what John Cena did back then. And we got a lot of people we weren't seeing. That being said, if you're gonna get him back on TV to get destroyed like that, poor guy.
Yeah. Raj, I want to ask you, this is kind of a side thing, but I was always a WCW fan growing up. Is it kind of weird that we talk about the glory days of the U.S. title being when a WWE guy like John Cena held it? I still feel like it's a WCW title to me. Am I just getting old?
I'm watching this show and I'm bored as fuck. as to tears the whole show. And I miss the days when it was just chaos. Like, you don't know what's coming. It's just, and there, I was watching that Steve Austin biography, and you're just watching that, and it's just like, oh my God, that was awesome. That music would hit, and the place would go nuts. And regardless, even beyond that, Goldberg's music would hit. Whoever, it was a time where it wasn't so calculated. Like, everything is so calculated right now. It's just like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, as opposed to excitement really happening. And I miss that. And I want that to happen again.
I was thinking that when they were messing with Bad Bunny's car the other week, and how they were clearly putting on some paint that they're going to be able to wash off very easily. Right. And I was thinking back during the old days, they would have filled it with cement.
They would have crushed that. They would have dropped a giant boulder on it.
There would be no way that car would have made it out okay. So to your point, it's interesting how now there's very like you could just tell they were doing things in a way that the car would be fine. Where in the old days they're like, no, this car is done. Don't you're never driving it again.
We do understand that was a freaking Bugatti, right? Like, I don't care what kind of time of the year it is. You don't mess with that car, period. How am I the girl here defending the car?
It's other people's money. It's fine. Terry Allen, Luther Vandross's birthday today. Never too much. Yes. And Robert Sadoff. Raj, leaving for a refill me anytime Riddle comes on screen. I think we did that one, but hey, you deserve another shout out. Why not? And then Pierre Kemp, shout out for the super chat. Thank you so much. Brian Cyrus, oh boy, add Carrillo to Raj's list.
Jeez.
And then Stella Justin Lopez. Let's be honest, Humberto is a cornball. Once I heard his music, it had go away heat with me. This kid should be on 205. Won't be shocked if he'll be cut this time next year. This is his ceiling. Stellar. Listen here. He is a former 2019 third-round draft pick. Put some respect on Carrillo's
Put some respect on that name.
And then Kier Kemp says, Riddle should be like Ken Shamrock. Not enough. I don't know if he has quite the same anger level.
No. Those
but
are two very different names.
And then Amy Kimmel says, great job, Jack. I am enjoying looking at you. I mean, the podcast, really, you are killing it. Love Monday Pod now. Thanks, Amy. I appreciate that. Always good to have you here. I appreciate that. So, speaking of, let's move on to, I think, part of the night that everyone really loved.
Hour 2?
Hour 2. Lana and Naomi versus Shayna Basler and Nia Jax. So,
have you guys seen Lethal Weapon 2?
I saw it a long time ago.
Does she not look exactly like the girl in Lethal Weapon 2?
I don't remember.
See,
Lethal
so
Weapon
if
2.
you were to picture her right now, does she not? Is that not the face?
Well, now it is, because now I'm actually implanting Mandy Rose there in the spot. So I'll go with it.
What do you think?
No, she does.
So I like Lana and Naomi as kind of like a depth team in the tag team division. Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax to me still feel like two singles people that got put together randomly. I don't really feel like they're a team, even though they've been the tag team champs forever. What's weird to me is how they're doing this is I don't know who I'm supposed to like with this whole thing. But if it's going to be Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, it feels like they're bullying Nia Jax at this point. But Nia Jax is bullying. Like, both of them seem kind of like jerks in this whole thing. And Lana and Naomi got a win over the champs, but they're not the champs. But it also feels like they're not part of this anyways. So I don't really... We talk about we don't know what's going on. This, to me, was a moment where I was like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to take away from this whole thing other than they're going to try to give us recaps from last week, even mid-match. Raj, am I crazy for thinking that?
I feel like this tag division has been complete crap with the way they've been building it up. I always bring up, like, when Sasha quit last year, Or was that 2 years ago? That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, because she cared about bringing this tag division. She wanted to make this something. And then they just pissed it all away. And I love the Iconics, but them losing to the Iconics at WrestleMania was complete crap. And I just felt like if you want to establish these titles, you keep it on Sasha and Bayley for a long period of time. And then when they lose it, it's a big deal. And now it's just nothing. Nia and Shayna, who cares? Does anyone care?
I care about Shayna as a single star, especially thinking of her when she was a badass, having a feud with badass Rhea Ripley. Like, I would love to see that, but she's not even the shadow of what she was on her NXT days, on when she came up and destroyed everyone at the Elimination Chamber. I don't know where that Shayna went, and that upsets me.
She has been pinned every week, I think, in the last, year.
I know, and it just it's a shame because I always thought that Shayna was a legit badass looking that could just completely go through somebody like a Rhea, and that's a feud that I would have liked to see years ago, not now.
Right.
But so, I mean, Nia and Shayna have been tagged together for a while now. We just they just don't give them a feud that makes you really recognize that.
It's not a title that means anything, and it should be.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And it could be. So
it's very I agree, Issa, with your comments on Shayna Baszler as a single star. She was amazing in NXT, which I feel like is a cliche thing to say now. They were amazing in NXT, but she was like a world beater in NXT. And when she came to the main roster, much like when Asuka came to the main roster, all these ideas of who she could face and what she could do, and I still feel like that's in there. I still feel like that's there for her, but it feels like she's just been on the back burner for so long and taking pins. And this is exactly the kind of thing that happens for a few years before people go, we don't need her anymore. Right. Where I think she could be a star in this division. I think she's great. She's very Samoa Joe of the women's division, I think.
That's a great way to put it.
But let's see here. So we got Brandon Hall. So excited. Baby number 4 on the way. And I'm finally getting my boy. Super excited about this. Oh, and Ross sucked yet again. Brandon Hall.
Congratulations, Brandon.
Congrats on the
Holy
baby
shit,
coming.
That's awesome.
Very exciting.
Let us know. Boy or girl. Let us know.
Yeah.
It's a boy. He said getting my boy.
Oh, sweet.
Jeez.
And then Alan Jones says, screw Raw, LOL. The non-Raw talk is better. Raj, what's your favorite Lethal Weapon? Issa, what's your favorite Scream? Jack, chime in on either question.
I think it goes 2, 3, 4, 1 for me with Lethal Weapons. And Scream, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, my favorite Scream is 1, but I remember seeing Scream 2 and the movie, and it had that beginning where they were at the movie and it was like a movie within a movie, and it kind of messed with you, so I kind of like that. But it's Scream 1. It would always be Scream 1.
Yeah, Scream 1. The ending, now it seems cliche, but at the time was such a twist.
Right?
I remember being so bummed out, like, Drew Barrymore's not even in this? Like, what the heck? She's the biggest person on the picture.
That opening was the most disturbing opening. I remember just watching it. I was like sick. I was like, I don't know if I could sit through this movie.
Yeah. Great movie. Lethal Weapon. I like the one with Jet Li. So I like Jet Li. That one.
Jet Li was awesome.
I was really into Jet Li at the time. I felt like everything he did was amazing. And so when I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it since it came out. I don't know if I would still feel that way, but at the time I was like, yeah, man, that's good. He's so good.
There's so many movies that I haven't watched in so many years, and I'm afraid to watch them now because I'm like, what if I don't like them the way that I remember?
Like, you know what we just watched was Back to the Future, and it is still so freaking great.
Yeah, it never ages. That movie's
it's like magic. That movie is magic.
Mortal Kombat, not so much. Don't go back and watch it. Don't go back. Just leave that one in the past.
The Cowboy Way, not so much.
No. Then I think we have Amy Kimmel saying, Raj, would you be willing to take over riding Raw and Issa could be GM? Please, what would be your first action?
Issa, what do you got?
I will bring back Brock Lesnar to fight Bobby Lashley.
Lesnar and Lashley's, that's money. That's the match.
Yeah.
But then I'm having Lesnar win because I want Roman versus Lesnar Survivor Series. So
You have Brock beat up Lashley, and then him and Roman. That's it. That's money.
yeah. And then you have Paul Heyman managing both of the top guys.
And that's the whole story. Like,
Yep.
whose side is he on?
Yeah. Love it. Money.
I love it.
And then DNA of I don't know how to pronounce Morgan Fan. I don't know how to say the name. Sorry. Vince says he doesn't always want women who are not pretty as champs. Again, there you go. I don't know about all that, but speaking of, we have speaking of beautiful women.
This guy knows. Back to the Future is great.
Back to the Future is still great.
Still great.
That's a classic. Speaking of beautiful women, Miss TV.
We're only here.
I'm trying.
This is gonna be like an 8-hour podcast.
I was just gonna say. So, I think it's a testament to how lovable Maurice is when the Miz can be the most annoying person on earth, and she can still help him cheat, and you're like, "Yay, Maurice is here."
There is this girl that looks exactly like Maurice that's in the Thunderdome every week. Do you know? Have you guys seen that?
No, I haven't. Maybe it's Maurice.
Oh, it might be Maurice. In the chat, you guys know who I'm talking about. But all right, someone knows, hopefully. But there is someone that looks exactly like Maurice that's in the Thunderdome every week.
Good for her. That's
I think it's the Maurice, but it might not be.
So with this whole thing, I think the first half was clearly just a commercial for Miz and Mrs. Which, hey, pay the bills. Good on them. But the match afterwards, Damian Priest, the Miz, Damian Priest gets the win. I thought this, again, last week there was some unhappiness about Damian Priest losing in a sneaky, cheaty way. But I feel like this gives him the opportunity to have yet another match and get a clean win this time. So in a way, I personally think it worked. But my hang up and my worry is having Bad Bunny with so much star power next to Damian Priest. And I like Damian Priest. Did it feel like he was kind of missing something today? Issa, do you feel that way?
I feel that way since Bad Bunny left, but that's because he should have been done with The Miz since after WrestleMania. He should have never came out last week to talk to The Miz and Morrison, and he shouldn't again tonight. Like it's a mistake. They should have wrapped that story up and move on with him to something else.
He shouldn't have lost last week.
No, 100%. But he should have not even been there to begin with, because all he's doing is reminding you that Bad Bunny's not there with him anymore. That's all this is doing for him.
Yeah, he should be beating a top level guy.
Right.
He's moved on.
He should have been in that triple threat match. He should have been answering a Sheamus Open challenge. He should have been anywhere.
Beating Sheamus, yes.
Yeah, he should have been anywhere but still involved with The Miz, because all you keep on thinking is like, damn, we miss Bad Bunny around here.
That was my biggest thing. Is it felt very like, wow, it's not a shot against him. I think that would have happened to anybody. But yeah, I was like, wow, he seems like
that last week brought him down.
It did.
Pinned
100%.
My Indian brothers will know what I'm saying, but Miz in his chuddies is pinning Damian Priest. You know? He's in his chuddies, and he's pinning Damian Priest. I mean, come on. Yeah. At some point, Brock Lesnar's not getting pinned by someone in his chuddies. So
you had a big audience watching WrestleMania because of Bad Bunny, whether people want to admit it or not, and they could have tuned into Raw to see what Bad Bunny's BFF is doing now, and you had him lose against The Miz in his underwear. It was a silly decision. You should have had him come out, and even if he was squashing a local talent like Jack says, then just make him look like a badass and be like, well, that's why Bad Bunny was hanging out with that guy, and then move on to whatever's next for him. He should have not been involved in that anymore.
Or even if it was like a ricochet or someone who could bounce around and like make it exciting, but you know, Damian Priest can do his things. So we also had New Day versus Elias after a silver dollar pancake promo with Riddle. I'm not sure what the New Day's connection with that Riddle is.
They love each other.
Where the New Day interrupted Elias by slapping the base. From the New Day's standpoint, to me, this rivalry feels a little bit like when I played WWE 2K on easy, and I'm just kind of goofing around and seeing what kind of stuff I can do, and there's not really any stakes to it. But we did get a surprise win. Elias got a clean win over a former champion, probably his biggest career win ever. Do you think that there's still... I've always thought there was money to be made with Elias. I always thought he gets reactions. I always thought people buy into him. He looks good. But does this win mean anything for him, Raj? Do you think that this is going to go anywhere, or is this just they're trading wins until a pay-per-view?
I mean, do you care?
No.
Does any of this matter? And that's my problem. Is I want shit to matter, and this didn't matter. None of this.
No.
None
Elias
of it.
is a crowd. Elias is a crowd guy, and this empty arena era is killing him.
He's done. I mean, he's just not. He's not a star. He was over at some point, and they see him at a certain level, and he's been at that same level for 4 years.
Hey, Jax.
John Cena's bald spot says, Baby Maharaja says, finally, Elias and Jackson haven't won in months. Was nice to see Elias finally win. Toxic fans are calling for Riker's release. Glad it didn't happen. Wrestling has lots of different opinions. And there you go. So we have The Fiend, Alexa Bliss. From a production standpoint, I love the music. I love the old photos with the doll put in there. I love the way Alexa plays this, but this is my thing with this whole thing. Is in pro wrestling, you can be all about red, white, and blue. You can be all about hating your boss. You can be all about never giving up. But at the end of the day, you need to translate to wins and losses in the ring. And for me, that's the disconnect. Nothing she said had anything to do with winning and losing in the ring. Nothing she said had to do with championships or anything like that. And so it was really just, it felt to me like a ramble. Like I feel like it's easy to say things in an important way when they don't really matter. Like I can be like, ever since I was a kid, I've always thought it was crazy playing with dolls, but like, it doesn't matter. Like, what does this have to do with winning matches?
That was better.
You know what I mean? Issa, I haven't heard your opinion on The Fiend or Alexa Bliss. How do you feel about this whole thing?
I hate everything about this. I hate it. She said that she pushed a little girl off the swing set, and I was like, oh, watch out, we got badass over here. Like, how does that translate to what you're doing now, that you pushed some little girl off a swing set? It was dumb. It was silly. Ever since she cost The Fiend the match, listen, I was willing to give this a try. Then it went downhill for me, and then he like came back up, and then she cost The Fiend the match, and I felt done with that whole thing, and I don't know what they're doing with her. And if you're gonna unleash her, like you said, then I even said when I was watching the main event, maybe Alexa would show up and like put some voodoo on all three of these girls, but she didn't. She's just sitting in a swing set with a doll, and it's silly. It's childish, and it means nothing. I didn't like it.
Alexa is the worst gimmick that exists in pro wrestling today. She sucks, and I love her as a personality. I think she can act, and she does it well, but it's just terrible. It's a terrible gimmick. Bray Wyatt too. I think he is such a superior personality, and it has been sidelined with such a shitty gimmick, and I hate everything about it. So
yeah,
everything. I mean, it's just the worst. I watch it, and I just feel embarrassed the whole time I'm watching it.
I mean,
I watch it, and I'm like, oh God, this is coming on. My wife might come in and see me watching this. Oh, God. Don't come in right now.
Right.
It's like watching porn. It's like watching porn. But it's like, no, don't come in. Don't come in right now. Because The Fiend is coming on.
Yeah. I mean, my hope when they split up was that it was going to be kind of like a Kane and Undertaker thing, where it was going to be like, okay, now you've got two supernatural people battling for supernatural supremacy, then you can finish it in the ring, whatever. But yeah, I don't. Again, it's gotta translate to wins and losses somehow, and this doesn't translate to wins and losses.
It's been bad. The goo falling from the face and the yoo-hoo and all that stuff. It's been bad.
If she would have helped the Fiend win, like she brought him back and they won at WrestleMania, we move on from it, then that's a whole different story, right? But the fact that she just, I felt like I was very done with this, but when she was the reason why the Fiend got distracted, the whole thing just looked silly to me, and
Right.
I just didn't like it. I didn't like it. I thought they should have worked together. Like you, so for 4 months you were freaking calling on the spirits to bring him back to do what? To do that? It was a horrible payoff.
It was bad.
And the rest of it has made no sense. Randy Orton is like, yeah, I don't care about them anymore. Sweater Bray is back. Well, not anymore. He just came back for 1 week, and now Alexa is sitting there playing with a doll.
Yeah.
Weird.
Orton was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm pinning this guy. We're moving on.
Every promo he's
But
done so far,
my
Randy Orton's been
daughters-
like, I'm so glad. Like he sounds like that's done.
Yeah.
I'm back to doing normal stuff.
Yeah.
We
moved on.
So yeah, they're moving on. Speaking of moving on, we had a quick thing with Jax, Basler, Rose, and Brooke and Garza, and so Garza shows up. The main point of this is Garza shows up and says, "Hey, leave Reginald alone. I'm checking you out, Nia Jax. Holla." And it seems like Nia Jax has some options. It was good to see Garza back. I'm a big Garza fan. Looks like maybe him and Reginald will have a clash of some kind. I'm just glad to see him back, so I wanted to give a shout out. And I'm a fan of Reginald, so hopefully we get to see them do something in the ring down the road. I don't know if you guys have any comments or takeaways from that quick segment there.
Nope.
Yeah, so moving on, we'll go to the Drew McIntyre versus Mace and T-Bar. I like a lot of things. I hated this because Drew McIntyre spent a year dominating people, and a match like this doesn't make him seem stronger or more dangerous. It's just another, Drew wins kind of moment. I thought this match could have had...
Riker was a damn machine gunner. I'm sure he doesn't care what Raj says about him.
Oh, that's probably true.
Fuck him.
Anyways, so we have this tag team match. Enough about Jackson Riker. We have a tag team match. I didn't like this because I feel like it just made two big monster dudes look like they were struggling against Drew McIntyre.
They did 2 DQs in a row.
And I was going to say that I hate how they do this thing where they have a match, it ends, they go to commercial break, and then they just restart the match. And it's been something they've been doing for years since they started doing like the 2 out of 3 falls. And I don't know, I'm sure there's a formatting thing to it. I'm sure there's a reason for it. But as a viewer, it's always annoying because you're like, oh, so that whole first part didn't matter. Like, why didn't Braun come out to begin with?
Why is Braun coming out, period?
Right.
Well, I mean, he needed a tag team partner, but again, I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't just come out to begin with if they're going to have a tag team match. And again, both DQs seemed random because I don't know why the first DQ happened because it was a tag team match. The two guys were just hitting him.
At some point, you can't do 2 DQs. It's just weak as shit.
Yeah. This match to me, I mean, I have a feeling at the very end, I'm happy that at least we got the masks off of T-Bar and Mace. So if there's a positive, that happened. But I feel like it just made them look like they got beat up by one guy when they should have just dominated Drew that whole time. And I don't know what the next thing is. It feels like it was a whole lot just to get to Drew is still indestructible, and now their masks are off. And they could have come out and just done that in the beginning.
Right. Exactly. It was just a filler. There was a lot of filler in this, and it was silly. Braun shouldn't be helping Drew McIntyre. Like, the whole thing just made no sense. But I'm glad that the masks are off of them, and maybe we can move on to different characters and a whole different side of them, because Retribution was a bust since the beginning.
I thought, it's fine. You know what? I watching that Stone Cold biography and watching just that fucking insane energy when his music hits, and just that chaos and that energy Like how can we replicate that? Is that possible anymore?
It is possible. The problem also is that after seeing fans back in the arena this WrestleMania and feeling that energy again, the last 2 weeks of wrestling has just been a bummer because we saw that it was like a tease. We saw it. I get it. It's not the
But
same.
who
Pops,
elicits
right?
that response? Who elicits that response? Who gets that like just like holy shit is here?
Yeah, not anybody right now. Maybe Roman, and not even they were booing him. But the whole point is like if it was a whole different vibe watching WrestleMania to going back to the Thunderdome, it just makes it even more dreadful to watch after getting a little bit of the taste of what having the fans' energy back is. That's why I figured it was gonna happen when we got WrestleMania and we have fans, and now I don't like the Thunderdome anymore.
What about you, Jack? Who would you let your wife sleep with?
Well, Roman,
Roman, of course.
Yeah. Because like I said, I want details. I want to know. But to your point, yeah, I think
I want details.
I want. I think right now the closest you would get is if Brock Lesnar came back, or if like a CM Punk, if it was a return of some
Becky
kind.
Lynch.
I think it would have to be like a CM Punk. Becky Lynch.
I let my wife sleep with Becky Lynch. That'd be fine.
Yeah, that's a good. That's the smart move. That's the smart. Here I am saying Roman. Robert says Raw has been so bad for so long. I feel like it'd be breaking news if they produced a good episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and then Myron Kid says, you tell him Raj Riker is a POS that derailed 2 guys' careers with his stupidity and still kept his job.
Yeah, fuck Jackson Riker.
Ooh.
That's my personal opinion.
Yeah. So,
and, I'm not always right.
Yeah.
But
I've never met the guy. I just know rumor and innuendos of what I hear on Twitter. But at the end of the day, I'm just not a fan of him on TV. So we end the show. We've gotten through it. We've gotten to the end here. I am gonna say we survived. Fuck him. Listen, I love that Rhea Ripley is out here as well with these two. I thought it was great that she came out. I thought it was great that she was pacing the ring like Darth Maul paced in his battle before facing Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And I'm glad she got involved. And I'm glad she cost Charlotte Flair the match. You know why? Because Charlotte Flair cost her NXT run. Charlotte Flair cost her WrestleMania moment last year. And now Rhea Ripley's coming to get revenge. And that's why she doesn't like Charlotte Flair. That's why she said Asuka was going to beat her. And I like that Charlotte Flair lost it at the end because Charlotte Flair is a spoiled brat that didn't get her way. She's the Tom Brady of Charlotte WWE. Awesome. And when the refs don't do what she wants, she gets crabby.
Is she not the best? Is she not the best?
She is the best.
Who combines everything better than her? I can't think of anyone. Roman, maybe.
I think women's division, she's the best for sure for me.
And Sasha, maybe. Sasha. It's close between her and Sasha.
I always want to say I don't think Sasha, but then she'll like put on a match like WrestleMania. I'm like, maybe Sasha.
Sasha has, when she wants to just pull it off, she's just on another level. All right.
Yeah.
You know what else I'm glad, Jay, that they didn't put her on commentary. They just let her circle the ring. They let her stand there. You did not need her on commentary because she hasn't made the best impression with her promos of her mic work, where she just has that presence. Let her just stand there and she looks like a badass, and that's all we need to do with her. I appreciate it because as soon as her music hit, I was like, God, please don't put her on commentary. Don't do that to her. Like, don't do that right now. And I was glad that they didn't because that would have probably not gone well. And I just want all the goodness for Rhea Ripley right now, and that would have not been it.
George
Devine with a dangerous idea. Take a shot every time Raj mentions the Stone Cold doc or who his wife would sleep with, and you'd be having a good time good as a time as he is tonight. You would be having a good one. And then Baby Maharaj said, and I lost it here, actually Cutler was released for a COVID issue, has nothing to do with Jackson Riker. I'm not the scoop guy. I don't know any of those details. That is a Raj question. Raj knows everything. He's got the inside scoops
He was released. Vince was pissed, and I don't know.
Yep. Looking forward to the Raj apology tweet tomorrow morning. LOL, but I do agree with his opinion on Riker.
No, fuck him.
It's
no apology.
So I would have loved to have seen Rhea just wreck everyone after this match personally, but that's me. Raj, you had said you weren't a fan of how things were playing out with Rhea earlier in the night. Do you think that the whole thing was bad even through the end of the show?
Yeah, I think they're not letting her be herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like her script last week, she was literally reading from cue cards.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sucked. It was just like, yo, I want to be the best. And and when you're doing that, you can't build a trust with the audience, and it sucked.
And that was your first impression of her as Raw Women's Champion. You don't do that. Look what they did for Bianca on Friday. That's how you do it. And that's what I mean when you can tell who they're invested into and who they're kind of booking it on the go. I really want Rhea Ripley to have a significant run, and I was glad that I thought it ended better for her tonight, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense that she will help Asuka, but I guess, Charlotte is a common enemy of the two of them. It's just, we'll see what happens. It's going to be a triple threat at Backlash. It's going to be a good match, that's for sure.
I think we all want the same thing, is we all want these people to be the top of the level, the larger-than-life celebrities, and when we're not seeing them get there, it's fucking frustrating. So
yeah,
it's I think, as I said earlier, someone like Rhea is so authentic. You can see right through it when she's pretending. And I think this something that we're coming to see here, especially now as social media gets bigger and bigger, is we're getting better at seeing through when people are being fake and when people aren't being sincere or authentic. And so when we see someone who is saying things that they don't believe, unless they're a great actor, we can see it. And when we see that they're not who they really are, I think that's what grinds our gears when we see them, and we're like, that's not real, that's not who they are, I don't like that. So I think that's one of the things that is starting to become a bigger and bigger issue on their part. John Cena's Bald Spot says, what would be more shocking, a good episode of Raw or a CM Punk return to wrestling?
Oh god, episode of Raw.
A good episode of Raw, a full episode of Raw, that will be more shocking.
They would be
Punk
the same
is
thing,
not coming back.
Yeah. I don't think so either.
I doubt it.
Never.
I do not know Punk, never talked to him, don't know anything about him, but when there are people who are as big as the WWE and AEW probably offering him stuff, I'm guessing, and he just turns it down.
I've talked to Punk a handful of times, and it's not happening.
I mean, because I can only imagine how much money. I don't know. Again, I'm just speculating here. I don't deal in truth. I deal in reckless speculation. And I am speculating that he's probably been offered some pretty good options. And if he turns them down, then that means he's probably not super interested at this point, is what I would guess. But
hey, could you imagine if he did? That would be a game changer. Like if he decided to go to AEW, that would be a huge deal.
That would be... Because I don't know if there's been anyone that has been that game changer
Christian
signing.
No. Yeah.
All respect to Christian too. But CM Punk is one of those guys. I think CM Punk, a Brock Lesnar, those are the guys that would get people to go, oh, wow, that's a big deal. I got to check out what's going on over there right now. Brian Cyrus says, you guys see Ryback tweet the poll on what fans want to see him do next, and the majority voted for him to retire.
I saw that. Total troll.
Oh, whoops.
I mean, you're asking for it when you give a bad response in a poll on Twitter. And then,
well, yeah.
If you put a bad response on Twitter or option on a poll, you're always going to get the bad one. That's just how people are.
1,000%.
People are assholes.
Yeah. So he kind of set himself up for failure there.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he'll ever be back. That would be an interesting one as well. He's still huge. It seems every time I see him, he seems massive. But
we were doing the podcast for a while. I know people keep asking. For a while we stopped because I had my those days I had my family getting the shot, and we just never got back on. So that was it. It wasn't a big thing. Yeah. But Ryback is one of those guys that I hear him talk and he just makes complete sense with everything he says. It's just like people give him shit for whatever they want to, but he was there. He makes sense. He knows what Vince is like. He knows. And anyway, he's a great guy.
Yeah. I think a lot of people build opinions off people based on what they see on Twitter sometimes too, without knowing people. So
Twitter sucks.
Yeah. I don't.
You know what? If I ever sold Wrestling Inc., Twitter would be the first to go.
Yeah, Twitter, you've got to go into it with some blinders on, I think. Otherwise, it's going to eat you alive. But Brian Cyrus says, thanks, guys. This podcast was way more interesting than Raw. So, hey, we cleared that bar. Hey. That's a pretty good...
The bar was like down here. So,
No, we got to big up it. Like, this was a great Raw, and we cleared it, you guys. This is a big deal. We've done a great job tonight.
Cheers.
But yeah, I think that's it for us.
I think that's it.
Any final words or comments before we all sign off?
I think that's it for me.
Yeah, I just want to see all the champions on TV, the people that had a major storyline going into WrestleMania. You can feel that they're missing on the show, and it makes a difference. We'll see what happens next week. I'm excited for NXT tomorrow and SmackDown. I think those two shows always deliver. So
yeah, they should be good. And Issa, where can we find you online? On Twitter
NYC
and all that.
Demon Diva with a 1 instead of an I. And YouTube. I just hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube this week. So, yay.
Sweet.
Nice.
And Raj, where can they find you? I'm sure, this is your channel. I'm sure they're all
Yeah, just find me on here.
Yeah. You can find me at Real Jack Farmer across all social media. This was the Wrestling Inc. podcast after Raw show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And we will see you guys next time. But make sure to check out the NXT after show right here on Wrestling Inc. To see everything that happened on NXT.
I'll be here.
All right.
See you guys. And Raj, you got the controls.
Oh, shit.